it's just an example. Purdue losing to Fresno State is okay. We can still win the Big Ten West. Me,
Billy Napier gets fired. I'm just kidding.
hey, really the best time of the year. I will be seated watching the Red Zone for 7 hours on Sunday. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to a new episode of Backyard Banter. Johnny, James, Tanner. We're back from a little hiatus, and guys, the Florida Gators are national champions.
Yeah.
Like, what are the odds? Right over left.
Right over left, baby.
Just pure bliss. And when I tell people pure bliss, they're like, you were down 12. You were down with under a minute left. Doesn't matter. Pure bliss. Yeah. So before we get to my reaction, I want to hear from you guys. What do you guys think of the Final Four as a whole? What did you guys think as the tournament as a whole? And what do you guys think of, the national championship and the Gators being deserving champion is what I always see.
You want me to go? I'll go first.
Yeah, you go first.
I mean, we were kind of texting throughout the game. I wasn't quite sure when I texted in the group chat at first. I'm like, I wonder if Johnny's going to text at all during this because I don't know. I obviously watching the Purdue national championship last year. Like, I don't think Tanner touched his phone for a while, and so we were texting back and forth. And for the first 3 minutes of the game, I knew it was going to be a great basketball game. I mean, the amount of skill that was in that game on both sides. My takeaways. I thought Houston played better basketball for 40 minutes, but again, what we saw, and that's just my opinion. And I don't know if I was maybe like blown away by the big plays that Houston made, but it seemed like Florida just wasn't playing great basketball. But yet the whole tournament, what did they do? They found ways to win basketball games, and they did it again in the national championship. It wasn't this. They did not run through this tournament. Right. I mean, they grinded out every single win besides maybe the first one. And it was impressive. I mean, it really was impressive. You talk about, they even said it on the broadcast, tale of two different coaches, tale of two different programs, tale of two different teams. I mean, Houston, we all know I've been big on them the whole year for years now. Actually, I keep saying that they're going to win one. And I thought this was their best chance, but the day of the game, I was sitting there and people were asking me at work, like, who's going to win tonight? And I'm like, it's clearly Florida, but I love Houston. And both teams did not shoot it well, right? And I thought maybe that favors Houston. But boy, like Florida just grinded it out. I have no idea how they won the game because it didn't seem like they were even in it. And next thing you know, it's a 12-point game. And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. With Houston's defense, how is Florida going to come back from a deficit like this when they're shooting 20% from the three? And then again, Florida just grinds one out. So it was a great game. I mean, the whole game, it was great. You feel bad for Sharp at the end of the game, but I mean,
Tampa kid.
I don't know. It is what it is, right? Those tough plays happen all the time. But shout out to Florida, man. They grinded one out. I mean, Johnny obviously loves Walter Clayton Jr. He's going to name his first, second, and third.
Kid, Walter.
There we go.
Walter is the first one. Clayton is the second one.
I'm going to stay away from all three of those names because I can't despise listening to him talk. But anyway, shout out to Johnny. Shout out to the Gators, man. They grinded one out. I thought Houston was the better team, but, they grinded one out for 40 minutes, and it was an impressive win.
Yeah, my takeaway from the Final Four in general is it's pretty fun. When you have all one seeds there, I think that needs to – I mean, obviously we have no control over it, but I think if that happens a lot more in the future, I'd be just fine with it because we had some pretty good ball games in the Final Four to watch. All three games, the team that was trailing after the final media timeout ended up winning. So you're talking about 3 come-from-behind wins in all 3 Final Four games. Florida was the most slept-on team in the country throughout the whole entire season. Really, before the SEC tournament, they still weren't even really talked about a whole lot. They were consistently in the top 3, top 5, the AP poll the whole entire season, and really just kind of dominated the SEC quietly. Everybody was talking about Auburn. Everybody was talking about Alabama, Tennessee, and Florida just kind of stayed under the radar. They were 1 seed. The next thing you know, they're in the Final Four, and they're national champions. Walter Clayton is a beast. So much fun to watch, dude. Anytime he takes that little sidestep dribble and shoots like a fadeaway 3, it's cash. It's cash money. Even like the Texas Tech game, the UConn game, like come from behind, never gave up, just gritty, just closing out the ball game. Todd Golden, I think I've said it for over a year now. He's a really good head coach. He has Florida going in the right direction. Obviously, he has a national championship. So you got to be excited about Todd Golden, the future you have with him, and in this Gator program. And they're gonna be back. I mean, you have a hell of a head coach, and I expect to see Florida being relevant as long as Todd Golden is there. And Houston came up a little bit short. I do feel bad for them. I'm not going to sit here and talk about Houston a lot, but I do feel bad for them. I've been there. I've done that. It sucks. It's not fun, so I feel bad for them. But they kind of deserve it because they should have felt that 2 weeks ago. So
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, the Florida as a whole, and guys, you might call me crazy. I think Florida peaked during the SEC tournament because they ran through everyone. They ran through Alabama. Like everyone's talking about, oh, Duke beat down Alabama. Florida blew out Alabama twice. Once in Tuscaloosa, and then obviously in the SEC tournament they won by 20 something. And then Florida handled Tennessee in the final. And that's the thing that surprised me. Florida did not play a complete game all tournament. Frankly, not even close. UConn shouldn't have been able to compete with Florida, but they did. They won against Maryland comfortably. They played a great half against Maryland to separate. Frankly, Texas Tech is a great team. They shouldn't have been able to compete with Florida for 40 minutes. And at the end of the day, they didn't. They did for 38 minutes. And then Auburn, I never panicked in the Auburn game, even when they were down 8 at half. I knew that Florida was better. It's just a bad matchup for Auburn. And then what happened? Florida's depth prevailed. And Janai Broome did not score for the last 15 minutes of the game. And when your best player doesn't score, he was hurt. Yeah, it was whatever. He looked fine in the first half. And it is a really interesting thing. He didn't practice for 2 days. And there's a very delicate line for being in tip-top game shape. And I know it sounds dumb, and people are gonna be like, "Oh, how in 2 days can you get it?" It's a real thing, especially when you're playing in that kind of game. And I think the X factor for Florida all year was Micah Hanlog. And when they got him back, and when he blew his red shirt, did it for the team, came back, their floor became so much higher. Because no offense to Sam Alexis, he seems like a great kid. He's not a high major player. He's a fine player, but when he came in, that's when Florida dropped off. When Hanlon came in, it's like, oh, this guy started 35 games last year before he broke his leg. This guy was a defensive player of the year at Marshall before he came to Florida. So those things kind of all cultivated to Florida getting to the Final Four and eventually winning. And about the Houston game in general, there was a few things that stood out, and it was the storyline was analytics versus old school. And I think that's part of the reason why Florida won. Houston, I saw a stat. I think Houston took it was between 15 and 20 mid-range jump shots. So if it's 20, you have the opportunity to score 40 points off it. If it was 15, you have the opportunity to score whatever, so on. And it was a stat where they only scored 12 points off them. It's because the mid-range jump shot, after a while, is not a good shot. It's the worst shot in basketball unless you're Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, or one of those scorers. And it was the little things when there's 19 seconds on the clock, and maybe you guys disagree, the way that game was called in the second half, you got to go to the basket. You got to make them make a call. And if not, Houston runs no offense. Their offense is LJ Cryer, here's a ball screen, a little pitch back sometimes, but it's offensive rebound, tip outs, and that's how they get their threes. That's their offense. They don't run great stuff. And I don't love the play that they drew up. And credit to Florida. Florida guarded it beautifully, and that's why they won. But I would like to see them have Uzan or Cryer go downhill and get to the basket. But
and truthfully, to that point real quick, Johnny, I'm not sure, and maybe I didn't watch the post-game conference, press conference, but was that the play?
So the play was the pitch back for Cryer. So Uzan went right, Cryer came off, and Francis came to screen him. Will Richard, who, by the way, just a winner. He's the reason why Florida won the game. Just a born winner. Guard it perfectly. And then everyone talks about what a play Walter Clayton made. Walter Clayton fell asleep on defense.
Yeah.
Completely fell asleep. And credit to him, they were attacking him in the second half. They were getting guard-on-guard screens and making Clayton defend. And credit to him, he guarded. But he fell asleep, but he had maybe the greatest closeout of all time. So did Houston,
I think my thought is Sharp was scared to take it in because he just turned the ball over.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And Houston didn't put a shot on the rim the last 2 minutes. Right. They had 4 straight turnovers to lose the game.
And Sharp had the ball 2 times in a row and turned it over both times. And I mean, obviously, again, you don't want to keep beating a horse while it's dead, but like when I was watching it live, I'm sitting there. I bet you he's afraid to attack just simply because he dribbled it off his knee on the previous possession.
And,
So
and,
I
and
was just
who was
curious.
there to knock the ball away again? Will freaking Richard, man.
Yeah.
Kid's just a winner.
Yeah.
And the game changed for me when Tugler picked up his second foul, picked up his fourth foul in the second half. Both Tugler and Francis picked up their fourth fouls, so they had to come out of the game. And so Houston went small. And that's when Florida turned it on. That's when Florida made their run. Because Tommy Hawk, who, by the way, is an NBA player. I hope he comes back, but like it wouldn't surprise me if he was a first-round pick. And that's where he was able to flex his muscles. And then what did I text you guys from the beginning? They need to get Walter off the ball. They need to get Clayton off the ball. And I sent this text, I think it was the end of the first half, where Florida's coaches are fantastic. They have 2 coaches on their staff that just accepted Division I head coaching jobs. Houston traps ball screens. That is what they do. That is legitimately what they're known for. And it took them an entire half to get Walt off the ball. And, you moved him off the ball. Here's 2-and-1s, and here's a beautiful set that they ran out of the timeout to tie the game with the 3. I mean, beautiful set. So, again, like they always do, Florida's coaches won at halftime. They made the adjustments, and that's why they won. But, like, when I look at the game, I think the biggest key was when both of Houston's forwards picked up 4 fouls.
Yeah.
That's when Florida made their run. And Florida was always going to make a run. They're too talented not to. And then when they moved Walt off the ball, that's when the game exploded. And, shout out to Clayton, especially before the first media timeout, he was really forcing it. He took 2 bad shots. He can make them, but they're bad shots. He had 7 assists. And, Walt's not Braden Smith. When he gets anywhere, like he averaged 4 assists, and in the biggest games all year, at Auburn, 9 assists. At Alabama, 8 assists. Houston National Championship, 7 assists. Is when he stepped up that playmaking is why he's going to be a top 20 pick. So when I look back at the game, those are the biggest takeaways that I have. And, you guys know I love Kelvin Sampson, and I feel for him that he didn't win a national championship. And I don't know when he's going to, because I think this was his team. And frankly, Houston doesn't run good enough offense consistently to kind of win at this level. I mean, you saw what happened with Duke. The reason why they beat Duke is because they turned it into chaos. And frankly, the Florida game in the first half and into the first media of the second half was chaos, and that's why they were winning. But, they just got Pop Isaacs out of the transfer portal. He's a really gifted offensive player. So I'm not going to ever doubt a coach like Kelvin Sampson that, they're never going to be back. But, man, it's hard to envision, just with how good the Big 12 is alone and the coaches in that conference alone, them getting back to a national championship, being up with under a minute left. Houston was up with under a minute left. Martin made the 2 free throws with 46 seconds left to finally put the Gators up. And, Houston outplayed Florida for probably 36 minutes of the game, just like a lot of other teams did. But like this Florida team did so often, man, they just found a way, and it was pure bliss.
Yeah.
I wanted to say, just like my last thing, I didn't get to say it. Elijah Martin, those 2 dunks he had against Auburn were electric, exhilarating. Those were some monster jams. So shout out to Elijah Martin.
Shout out to Ian Eagle, by the way. I mean, talk about
he's so good.
Just so money, man. I love him.
Talk about a guy who just knows, and he knows it too. Yeah. Like he knows he's the best. Like
I have a hot take. I think his brother's better at doing hoops than he is. I think his brother does Peacock, and he did the Olympics. So I mean, but other than the Olympics, like he does a Big Ten week game, so like people don't listen to him a ton. But his brother's really good at what he does too.
They're both good.
But that's a compliment to Ian Eagle. You saying that's his
brother.
No kidding. But no, Ian Eagle was money. And then of course the first 10 minutes of the Houston game, Thomas Houck just gets baptized.
Yeah.
I don't think that was publicized enough, because that was crazier than any of the Martin dunks.
Yeah.
Like he was straight up. Houck is 6'9", probably got a 7-foot wingspan.
Dude.
And he's honestly like my favorite player.
And there were dunks this tournament that like you don't even see. Truthfully, like I thought these guys were at trampoline parks. Yeah. Like I mean, like they were jamming that thing.
Did you see the still photo of Elijah Martin when he first of all, his first dunk, he took off from the free throw line when there was no one near him. And I'm like, oh my God, I've seen this before, because he did that earlier this year and he missed the dunk. So I'm just happy he made it. But I do want to say shout out to my brother Jameson Shields. He won the bracket. He barely edged out. He won by 10 points. It was a very competitive bracket,
crazy.
and we had a full bracket. So thank you for everyone that participated. It was we had a max amount of entries for us, so it was very exciting. But college basketball is done. It's very sad.
Now it sucks. Now we got the stupid NBA playoffs for 18 straight months.
Yeah, that is. Oh, by the way, people are saying college basketball is dead. Florida Houston peaked at 21 million viewers.
Yeah.
Like it got a monster number. It's the most watched college basketball game this decade. Like it's just a monster number for this game. And there's people want to say the sport's dead. It's not dead. And people want to say the transfer portal is ruining sports. If I'm a player, if I was a mid-major player, why wouldn't I transfer? They need to set limits on that, but that's a whole conversation we can have deep into the offseason.
The transfer portal might have Purdue on the mountaintop this time next year. So
I will say Purdue should be preseason number one.
They should. They have 2 commitments that haven't really been public yet that I know about, and there's no way they won't be preseason number one.
Just breaks news.
Are they mid-major to Purdue transfers, or are they high major to high major?
High major. One's high major. One's going to be a lottery pick next year coming over from Europe.
Yeah, you told me about that one.
Yeah, all I know is shout out to Backyard Banter and our college teams because our teams just compete for natties. Unfortunately, only one of them can get it done. But shout out to our teams, man. That's impressive alone.
Yes.
You have 3 guys that are literally from 3 different parts of the country, and to have 3 different teams. And granted, you guys were basketball, I was football, but at the same time, man, like
it doesn't matter.
That's impressive. And say, Notre Dame keeps winning the lacrosse national championship. So we did win something, but anyway. But shout out to us, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's like, and James, you went through this. Tanner, you went through this last year. You never know when you're going to be back.
No.
And it is. I mean, Tanner, when's the last time Purdue made a Final Four before last year with Wooden?
1980.
Yeah, I mean that's not with Wooden, but still, that's a long time. That's Michael Jordan wasn't in college during that time. To put it in perspective.
That's crazy. That's nuts.
I really took it all in. I was sad I couldn't go. My parents were in Dubai, so they were busy. My dad was watching it on a VPN at 3:00 in the morning in his Dubai hotel. So shout out Frank Shields.
That's why I was shocked, man, because I texted you, I think Sunday morning, maybe even it was Monday morning. I was like, "Where are you watching the game?" I was thinking you were about to send us a snap in San Antonio.
I wish
because when Notre Dame made it to the Natty, you were like, "Bro, if my team made it, I'd find my way there." And I'm like, "Well, unfortunately, I just financially couldn't do it." And I was like, I wonder if Frank and Johnny are going to make their way to.
It's just tough because it's in a football stadium, and the nosebleeds were $300, and you're just watching it on a TV at that point anyway. So the Final Four is kind of the hardest one to justify because to get into the lower bowl, you're paying at least $1,000, at least. So,
but the Gators, man, they got it done.
I mean, I should have recorded myself. I remember, Tanner, I know you were there when Mason, our freshman in Kansas, he recorded his reaction. I should have recorded my reaction. I started jumping up and down. I was, it was. I was just so happy. But like I told Tanner before you got on, James, just mostly happy for the team. Happy for those guys. Like they deserve it. Like 36-4, in the toughest conference ever. It's quite the accomplishment. But anyway, we'll move on and talk about the transfer portal and all that stuff when it's off-season time. But now that it is spring, is it officially spring? I don't even know when spring starts.
Masters about to be on. It's spring.
That's what I'm saying. So we move on to baseball's getting into full swing. The Cubbies are looking good. The Masters start as you're watching this. It'll start tomorrow for us. So we're going to kind of pick one biggest storyline through baseball right now. What teams are mostly like 12 games in 2 weeks into the season. I'm not counting the Cubs who played in Korea, wherever they played before the season started.
Yeah, buddy.
And I don't know if the Cubs count those either since they didn't really get up for those games. I'm just kidding. We never talk golf. We talked the Masters. I think the first year we did the podcast, we are going to have Masters winners for you guys. I've been tuned in on golf this term, James. I remember when we were doing the Pistol Term, I told you I'm going to start locking in on golf.
Yeah,
and I have. Shout out Full Swing for
Full Swing gets it going. Yeah.
But Tanner, we'll start with you. 12 games for most teams into the season. What is your biggest takeaway in the MLB season right now?
I'm going to give one big takeaway across MLB, and then I'm going to give a little spiel on the Cubs. Won't be a long one, I promise. Won't be that long. My biggest takeaway is the Braves and how bad they have been.
Yep.
I still think they're at one win. If not, they're only at two.
Yeah, that's true.
What's their record officially? Like 2-8.
They are
2-8.
Worse than the White Sox, 2-8, tied with the White Sox and Rockies for the worst record.
So
and
the
they
Braves
have the least amount of runs scored and least amount of runs scored in baseball.
So the Atlanta Braves are 2-8. It's very early. I think the Astros did this last year, and still ended up winning their division. But this is not the AL West. This is the NL East, where you got the Phillies, you got the Mets, and it's just going to be tough to come from behind. I think the NL wild card is also going to be extremely competitive this year. The NL is deep. The NL is a very deep league this year. So I think the Braves, like we said, you can't win division in April, but you can lose it. The Braves are losing it right now. I know they don't have Acuna back yet. Pretty sure Spencer Strider, is he healthy?
He'll be back soon.
He'll be back soon. So they're missing some key guys, but this is a franchise that 3 years ago, you're talking like nobody in the MLB was in a better spot. Like they have multiple franchise players on great contracts for a decade. And now here we are in 2025, just 4 years after they won the World Series. They haven't missed the playoffs in quite some time. They lost the division for like the first time in 7 years last year. Still were a wild card. But now here we are, and it's like, is this dynasty over? Like Austin Riley's not as good as he used to be. Matt Olson's not as good as he used to be. Orlando Arcia is terrible. Ozzy Albies has lost it. Michael Harris is not really slugging anymore. And Ronald Acuna can't stay healthy. Spencer Strider can't stay healthy. Max Fried is gone. Like, this is a Braves team that is totally different than it has been in the past. They got off to a terrible start, which they could not afford to get off to. And my biggest takeaway right now is that the Braves are in trouble. They're in serious trouble, and I am officially declaring their dynasty as over. It is over.
Dynasty's a big word. They're a run of major success.
Major success. You're right. It wasn't a dynasty. They only won one championship, but their World Series window, I think, is closing. It's closing. My spiel on the Cubs. I mean, just look at their April schedule. It is
number one offense in baseball right now. By the way,
number one. I looked. No, they've scored 95. They lost today, but after today, they've scored 95 runs. Nobody else has scored more than 80.
Yeah.
So shout out to the Cubs. But I will say their toughest part of the schedule is right now. It is April, and they have navigated it pretty well so far. And if they get through April, even at 500, like there's going to be a tough climb for the rest of the NL Central, because I mean the Cubs play the Dodgers this week, then they play the Padres and the Dodgers again. They play the Phillies still. Just got off the Rangers and Padres. Like they're playing every good NL team right now, and they've shown they can compete. So.
Yeah, I would say my takeaways was gonna be the Braves, but I got three like basically divisions. Boy, the NL West is gonna be a gauntlet. I mean, obviously the Dodgers are I think all of our favorite, but who knows? Maybe Johnny's gonna hop back on the Padres this year again. I'm gonna go to the AL Central. Good Lord, talk about like just being mediocre. I mean, you could be mediocre
every year, man. I mean,
it's so frustrating. I know it's early. But you look at the division, like the White Sox are 2-8. They're 4 games back. Like, what are we doing? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Shout out to them for getting 2 wins.
Facts, literally facts. By the way, I said it in our prediction to the MLB season, and I'm going to stick to it. I think the Colorado Rockies will end up being the worst team in baseball. They're a tough watch. But then my last division is going to be the NL Central. You know, a little bit about the Cubs. Like, this is the Cubs division to lose. I don't think there's the rest of the 4 teams. I just don't think they're very good. I mean, the Brewers, I'm sick and tired of watching the Brewers kind of bring in guys that only Brewers fans know because they just work through their farm. And I think the Brewers' time is gone. I think the Cardinals, not very good. And I think the Cubs really have to try to lose this division, which is good. I mean, I'm excited about it because I do think what they did in the offseason was acceptable. It made you excited to watch Cubs baseball. Tanner and I were playing the show, watching the Cubs last night. So like, you know, it gets Cubs fans excited. But I tell you what, come summer, we better find some pieces in our bullpen because otherwise winning the division won't mean anything if we're just going to get into the playoffs and nice Shota goes six and a third and we give it all back in the seventh. And it's kind of frustrating. I don't know the exact number, but I think it was 35% of what we made last year we spent on salary. I don't know what the Dodgers number is, but I bet you it's north of 70. So it's frustrating. Cubs fans have always said the same thing. Why don't we spend the money that we make? Obviously, it's getting annoying. It's getting a little frustrating. We sign a guy for a 1-year deal. Well, I don't know. The Blue Jays just gave a guy a $325 million signing bonus. So let's figure it out. Like let's do something. If you want to compete, I mean, you got to spend some money. It's very simple. Very simple.
No reason why the Cubs shouldn't have gotten Corbin Burns. There's no reason. I thought that was their missing piece, frankly. And I'm not going to act like I'm some expert on the Cubs, not like you guys, but they need bullpen. I think they still need another starter too, frankly, if they want to win a World Series. It's fine if you want to win the division, kind of going with what you got, but to win the World Series with this lineup, I think the Cubs could do, which is, the World Series is baseball more than any other playoffs. Them in hockey, it's not random, but it's like in the first year of the extended playoff, the Diamondbacks made the World Series when they wouldn't have made the playoffs in any other year. The Diamondbacks, did I say them that's what I'm going to say. But anyway, my biggest takeaway is I thought I said the Diamonds. That would have been bad. My biggest takeaway, James, you mentioned it, is how good the NL West is. Let me read you the records right now. So the Dodgers were insane. They started 7-0, right?
Yeah.
They are third in the division. Just to put that in perspective. And I know we're only 11 games in, but Padres 9-3, 7-0 at home. Petco Park rocking. The Giants, who will still find a way to finish 81-81. They are 8-3. Again, just really strong start. I'm not going to act like I've seen any Giants games, just highlights, but still. I'll tell you what, the baseball stadium that I want to go to more than any other stadium after I've been to Wrigley and Fenway is where the Giants play. I don't know if they still call it Candlestick Park, or that might be the really old name.
I don't think
it might be Oracle something, but still, they have the most aesthetically pleasing ballpark, at least to me.
Let's
go
go
to San Francisco. Come on,
let's go to San Fran. You want to go to San Fran? I want to go to Pittsburgh. So we'll take a flight to San Fran.
I would love to go to Pittsburgh too. Yeah, Pittsburgh's on that too. The 3 baseball stadiums I've been to: Wrigley, Fenway, and the Trop. Talk about a top 3.
Talk about 2 amazing ones, and then you go to a minor league stadium.
Yeah, talking about Fenway. Yeah. Yeah, but I'll get into the Rays a little bit. And also, the D-backs are 6-6 in 4th. If you're 6-6 in the AL Central, you're leading by 7 games. So
literally,
not actually, but I think the AL Central will turn around this year. They're too good. But I'll briefly talk about the Rays. They started 4-2. The Rays rotation is really good, guys. They're disgusting. The Rays problem isn't going to be they don't have enough pitching. The Rays always have pitching. It's who's going to hit. Taylor Walls is still an everyday shortstop, and until Hyun-Sung Kim comes back, he's going to be. And he's never hit over 200. Last 2 years, he's hit under 200. And I don't know how you can be a professional baseball player. And granted, he's a great defensive shortstop. You guys know that because his big coming out party is that last year was his play against the Cubs, where he won the game with a double play. But man, he's a hard watch. Yandy is hitting 150 right now, and he did this last year. And he ended up hitting 281 last year, and he's going to end up hitting close to 300 like he always does. But man, the Rays last night were the first team since 1920 to have runners on third base with no outs and score 0 runs in back-to-back in the 8th and 9th inning. That is not a made-up stat. Just and the incredible – it might have been the 7th, 8th, and 9th. I was so distraught. The incredible incompetence of situational baseball, and it was all I heard in spring training is man, we got to get the runner home from third. Doing a bad job, not doing the job right now. And it's little things that you take Junior out of the game. Junior's the best player. Unless he's hurt, he shouldn't be coming out of the game. And who was the last guy up in the 9th inning? Jose Caballero, who, again, is a good player, who went in for Junior last night in the game. But anyway, I'm rambling about a game in April against the Angels. But it's just very frustrating because Shane Baz throws 7 innings and gives up 2 hits.
Yeah.
You should win that game. Granted, he did give up 2 runs. It doesn't matter. If you're a Major League Baseball team, you should score more than 2 runs. And whatever. I'll be yapping about the Rays a lot more because I signed a contract with Locked On Sports to do their postcast for every game. So if you want to hear Rays rants, well, it won't be rants. It'll be, constructed. But it is just very, very frustrating to see right now. And, shout out to the people at Steinbrenner. They've sold out every game so far. And I know the capacity isn't great, but you look what the A's are doing in Sacramento. They're not selling out every game in the minor league park. And granted, aesthetically, I was really concerned about it. I don't know if you have seen any highlights. Aesthetically, it looks pretty good. It doesn't. I thought it was going to look pretty rough. And at night, it looks a little weird. But during the day games, it looks pretty legit. So yeah, that's my Rays rant. We got to move on to the Masters because the Masters makes me happy, and the Rays right now, they have not won Globe Life Park where the Rangers play, ever. I think they're 1-13 since the Rangers moved to their new stadium. That is another just true stat. But anyway, James, I would say very confidently that you know the most about the PGA. I know you hate LIV, but even LIV, just professional golf as a whole, more than anyone else. Give us here. I'll make it tricky. I did not prep you for this.
No.
Give us, your 2 favorites, and then give us 2 or 3 guys that are outside, maybe the top 15, or maybe not being talked about. They don't have to be outside top 15 that you think could make a run this weekend. Then give us who you are going to pick, and then we'll go to Tanner, and then back to me.
All right, that is a lot. Okay, because I had my winner, picked, but yeah, the Masters is such an amazing time. You go on TikTok and you watch the press conferences. Guys, just I'm not saying golfers are genuinely really good people. You could just tell, right? They're not first of all, they're not driving McLarens 140 miles an hour into people. They stick to the game of golf and that's it. So my idea of the Masters is these guys go on the press conference and they just seem so nice. I think the Masters just makes everyone so happy.
Yeah.
So it's a great time of the year. So my takeaways for this week, when you look at Scotty Scheffler, this is his tour. It's his league. Every time he shows up to a golf course, everyone knows that he's probably the favorite. And again, that doesn't change for me this year. I'm not going to pick him to win, but he's definitely up there in terms of he's going to get a top 10. So I do have him getting a top 10. That is my pick, Scotty Scheffler, top 10. To give you a guy that I think is going to play really well this week, Sepp Straka. I watched him. Don't worry, Tanner. I'm not going to pick him to win. You can keep him, but he's been really good. I watched him 2 years ago at the John Deere, and followed along with him. He was playing with Lucas Glover, and my favorite thing about him was it was a hot July day. He changed shirts 4 times, so he's a big boy, and I love big boys. So Sepp Straka, he's been playing really well too. I mean, he's one of the top players in the world right now. But he's a name that not many people know. The only way you know his name is if you're avidly watching golf. Because again, the rankings at this time of the year, they don't really matter a ton because a lot of the big name guys aren't playing in the small tournaments. So they get a lot of points early. But I think Sepp Straka is a legit contender for every tournament and every major moving forward. I really like his game. But to give you my pick, it's a LIV guy. When I say I don't like LIV, I don't like the backing of LIV, but I think LIV's a cool idea. I like the guys now. I feel like they're not as, jerky about it anymore, if that makes any sense. I think LIV just kind of established themselves as their own. And they kind of just come and play in the majors, and it is what it is. So my LIV guy is going to be Bryson. I think this course 3 years ago or 4 years ago, he said it's basically a par 66 for him because he hits the ball so far. And then he went and shot 82. So I like Bryson. He's playing fantastic golf. The course is going to be wet, which favors long ball hitters. It's going to rain on Friday, which favors long ball hitters. He got 6th last year in the Masters. He's playing fantastic. My pick at plus 2,000 for your instance is Bryson DeChambeau. I think he's going to get it done this year. yeah, but just excited to go to work tomorrow and just turn on the Masters live and just sit there and pretend like I'm doing something. So
Yep. I like your picks. I think if anybody on the live were to do it, it'd be Bryson. He's due to win the Masters. He doesn't have a green jacket yet, and I think that will change if not this year in the near future in the coming years. I'm going to pick someone else that doesn't have a green jacket yet to win it, and he actually had the lead going into Sunday last year, and it's Colin Morikawa. He leads the tour in strokes gained in between the tee box and the green. Basically, he's the best iron player on the tour. That's his strength. It always has been. He's been good with his irons, and everybody talks about, well, like the Masters, the putting matters. Right, the putting does matter. The greens are tough, but you know what makes putting easier? When you can stick an iron 10 feet from the pin more than anybody else can. So I'm going to take Colin Morikawa. I really like his game. He's due. Choked it away last year. And my sleeper, I think he's going to finish top 5. And for the same reason as Morikawa, he's a really good irons player. He's been hitting his irons well this year on the tour. Is Tommy Fleetwood. Tommy Fleetwood, I think, is going to finish top 5. I think he's going to be in contention right there with Morikawa. And I do think Scotty Scheffler is also going to be right there in the top 5.
No win Tommy gets a top 5. That'd be pure.
Yeah. So it's interesting.
Sorry. I have one more stat here. I forgot to pull this up. I love my caddies and everything. So let me pull up this stat. The most common caddy bib number of Masters winners in the last 20 years is 53 and 89. Colin Morikawa's caddy has the 53 caddy bib, and Bryson DeChambeau has the 89.
Oh, caddy. For sure. Let's go. Come on.
Statistically, it's one of those two.
That's a fun stat. You look in the week that the Gators have had, how can it not be Billy Horschel? I mean,
there's a lot of reasons why, but
guy's a Gator. I mean,
he is right over left.
I mean, but actually, I'm not saying he can't win. Like he's a good golfer. He's won tournaments. Sleeper, not really much of a sleeper. I think Justin Thomas could play really well this weekend, and he won the PGA, correct, a few years ago, and since then he really hasn't been that good. Like last time that the Ryder Cup made the team, then that next year he wasn't very good, and this year he's playing a lot better. But this might be a cop out, but I just feel like it's Rory's year. And I don't think in the last at least 5 years he's been playing as good as he has coming into the Masters. And, Rory is the most popular golfer of this generation outside of Tiger. And this is the one that he needs for the career Grand Slam. And I think the pressure is on him more than ever because how he choked away the U.S. Open last year. And yes, granted, Bryson hit some big shots, but man, Rory missed 2 or 3 putts. If he hits those, he wins, and it's probably by at least a stroke or 2. So those are the 2 that I look out for.
I like it.
So yeah, I mean, look, I like Justin Thomas, and I like Justin Thomas because he was on the first season of Full Swing, and he was just really likable.
I like when his credit card got declined at Walgreens. That was like a humbling moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's a personal.
It's like been there, done that. Like,
exactly. I'm trying to think of.
I will say to Justin Thomas, he's without his caddy. So he posted something on Instagram today about how he's got a friend basically on the bag. Now that could be really good, or that could be really, really bad. Yeah, we've seen it before where like caddies get hurt, and then a friend, like for example, I was at the John Deere Classic. A caddy took a spill right in front of me. His like brother or cousin hopped on the bag. He's this European guy. Awesome. Hopped on the bag. He went and rattled off like 4 birdies in a row. He was smiling the whole time. Like he was just with his boy. Like it was cool.
Makes him a little bit more loose, maybe.
Yeah, so exactly. A name that nobody said, and it's another live guy. He was warming up today on the range with a blue jacket on, which was pretty sick. Is Cam Smith, another 6th place finish last year. I mean, this dude just plays really well at Augusta. Frankly, like I think the top 3 is going to be Scotty, Bryson, and I think Cam Smith is going to be up there too. But
he always plays well. I feel like
he does. He's a great putter. Like that's the thing. He's a great putter. But again, when I saw Mormon up this morning with a blue jacket on, literally like a blue jacket, he's just hitting balls at the range. It was pretty pure, but I think if you're a golf fan, you want Rory to win too. Like I don't hate Rory at all. I love Rory. I think he's really good for the game. I thought he was a really good ambassador for the PGA Tour.
Yeah.
He's awesome. It would be cool. It would be cool for him to win. But I mean, we just rattled off 20 names, so we're bound to have picked one of them.
Pick one. So. I'll throw one more out there. John Rahm. I mean, went Scotty to John Rahm, back to Scotty. Why not back to John Rahm? Just keep the thing going. And he hasn't played great golf. And then Tony Finau's family is always on my TikTok for you page. And
always flying private, man. Always flying private.
Yeah, he is. And I don't know if there's a more likable person on the PGA Tour than Tony Finau.
Yeah,
so I'm always a low key Tony Finau fan, but there is Backyard Banter's golf segment of the year. Maybe I'm really getting into golf, so maybe we're not going to break down every tournament. So definitely the majors we're going to be talking about, and maybe some of the bigger non tournaments as well. But yeah, fun episode. It was good to be back. Next week will be a tentative upload because I'm traveling back to Florida. Me and Frank are road tripping all week. We got a 4 days.
Film one in the hotel. It's fine.
Yeah, we can. We'll be flicking them. I'll phone in the car and be like, "What's up, gang? We're in the middle of Nebraska right now, coming to you live." But
Nebraska's a good state. Just drive by Omaha.
A lot of corn there.
Yeah.
If you guys made it this far, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.